El Paso. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv. Andrew J. Polk with a lot of people chiming in already, at least we'll call it a mild gauntlet being thrown. Ida Basic Garden with the hi and the wave there. Mondo Moncada with the howdy over on the Twitch stream. And Matt Olson with the, all right, let's see if I can do this justice. Okay, we'll keep it there for now. But yeah, appreciate y'all chiming in and tuning in as we have a lot to talk about today. A lot of things going on both in the immediate area and certainly going to affect this, or at the very least, the strong possibility of that happening. So just a couple of topics top of mind for us here for today do include, of course, we got some other immigration border security issues that are continuing to go on and evolve, including a potential major challenge to the Biden administration's kind of one of their cornerstone policies in place in terms of the current border security and immigration whole sphere of influence and issues there. And Eric von Holstein-Rathlow also chiming in with the much more reserved, appreciate that sometimes. Anyway, a lot of other things going on, including the next Texas special legislative session. I told you we were going to have another one, and it is getting ready to gear up. Pretty much the ball's in the governor's court, so it's on his schedule, but it's reasonable to expect certain things coming here before too long at all. Probably before the end of it, the end of this month. Well, maybe not, because we're already at the end of July, which is just freaky to me, but that's how time does work. But also getting into that there is a lot of, legal and personal repercussions and the perils of hiking from the mountain at night, and we'll get into both of those things, including some updates from the El Paso Chamber on what they are seeking for those that have been on camera as part of vandalization of the Star on the Mountain, but also a lot other going on that whole sphere in the meantime. So we'll dive right into that with some of the things and other issues going on, such as Mondo Moncada saying justice for Officer Peter Herrera. I do know that our news partners at KFOX 14 also focused on the coverage of that. Definitely have a lot more capability to be in the courtroom and bring you the details on those trials. Do believe it's part of the news update that we do have today, as we also have Buddy Valles checking in. Hello to you as well, as we got another whole jam-packed show for you today. So one of the scenes that could be seen, and a very similar looking one to one I saw myself over this weekend. Our news partners at KFOX 14, about 8 migrants rescued after a human smuggling attempt, according to U.S. Border Patrol officials as well, happening a Wednesday near I-10 and Schuster. And I've seen at least, this is like the second incident, including one that I've seen myself. Obviously, we also have George Zavala chiming in with us. Good afternoon to you as well, as he wishes everyone a good afternoon. There was one over the weekend I saw a little bit before that point, before you hit, I-10 eastbound. They've got those new Wish off-ramps that lead toward Executive Center, and kind of in one of the culverts, I guess might be the way. It was in the shade of a wall, thankfully, I guess. Small favors, I suppose. But at least one van pulled over with a significant Border Patrol response. I want to say I saw Texas State Troopers there, but that may have been other incidents I'm conflating as well. But definitely Border Patrol, 100% on that part of it. That there was a bunch of people out from that one. And this looking, honestly, I almost thought it was in the same type of location with some of the pictures from our news partners at KFOX 14 detailing the Border Patrol response, though slightly different, just also with a group of people put up into a kind of temporary position up against a wall, sitting while waiting for further response, I do suppose. But that is part of the local response that we continue to see. But part of the federal and part of the organization of it, particularly the policies, may be in jeopardy. At the very least, one of the, what I would call, cornerstones of the Biden administration's policies that has seen what has come to pass since the ending of Title 42 earlier this year, after a bunch of those, false starts, not exactly missteps, but pump fakes, I would call it that, for sure, if not exactly a legal term, about what was going on with the end of the policy, with some of the expectations and the actions that were happening, particularly amongst those constituent populations of seeking to cross. And while, sure, it has not exactly ended, as again is borne out by the numbers over on the El Paso, Texas.gov migrant/migrant-crisis, the migrant situational awareness dashboard that shows that encounters in our region are definitely still maintaining low levels, even if custody continues to fluctuate a bit, but that's more things going on around and dealing with often transportation to our region from other parts of the U.S. border sector. But the real issue and the real policy in potentially at issue here, well, it is already at issue, but could potentially be the one ended, the circumvention of lawful pathways rule. That's the one that was put forth by the Biden administration basically immediately before the end of Title 42 as not exactly a replacement for it, but more in line with what the Biden administration response has been, including, of course, the CBP One app that basically says, I'm going to quote from the El Paso Matters reporting on this, that, of course, has been called an asylum ban by migrant advocates. We've talked about that previously as well, but their notes on this, that it is, of course, they're referring to it as a key enforcement tool that essentially replaced Title 42. That's of course, noting on some of the things about Title 42, that this rule specifically that allows authorities to deny asylum to most migrants who don't apply online or seek protection in a country they pass through before arriving at the U.S.-Mexico border. So think of it as, I don't know what's the right way to put it, kind of a combination of the first safe country rule as well as a refocus on the, again, CBP One app. So not quite a mishmash of both first safe country and remain in Mexico policy, but you can kind of see it from here. Similarities do abound and very much focused on that. And it's been cited as kind of one of the reasons that we've seen the drop in response in our area, and some interesting response and reporting on this, again, specifically from El Paso Matters. There's also more, of course, from our news partners at KFOX 14, mostly from our national news partners on that end of it. Couple of quotes specifically. El Paso Matters speaking with Melissa M. Lopez, the executive director of the El Paso Diocesan Migrant and Refugee Services, DMRS for short, and saying, quote, "It's great news to hear people will have at least one less barrier to apply for asylum. The system is already complex without adding another layer to it." But then going on and adding that Lopez does not believe that the stay and likely appeal means there won't be an immediate impact to the community, but that even if the rule were to be lifted, she doesn't anticipate as large a surge of migrants as anticipated back in May, when, again, the Title 42 itself was removed. But different perspectives are there as well, including, again, from El Paso Matters here, having spoken with Ruben Garcia, founder and director of the Annunciation House, and, of course, what I've often referred to as the Annunciation House kind of microcosm of organizations and nonprofits in our community focused on the response to this. Still very much in operation, even if less in headlines as of lately. But what he is saying is that this could have larger implications for our area. A large influx of migrants, again, making their way to the region. Whether the region can handle that influx would depend on numerous factors, including the migrants' nationalities, with Garcia himself quoted as saying, quote, "You're going to see numbers of people coming in increase, but how many and at what rate is all speculation." So that's an interesting, different perspective on it. For instance, in giving the examples of, if we're talking about Central America, they'll likely have funds to pay for their own travel, but the existing network of migrant shelters, together with some of the counties' facilities, could manage, in his analysis. But if it continues to see sourcing from places like Venezuela, where there are less resources on average, in his estimation, from those that are arriving from that, they do so without money or travel or family to receive them, which certainly has been one of the issues and one of the sets of sticking points. So we'll see what that is. And Buddy Valle, and a bunch of comments coming in on this, including Buddy Valle saying, "SCOTUS deliberately trying to ruin Biden's border policy to create another crisis." This coming from a California federal judge, but given the fact that as part of that, there was a 14-day stay in the implementation of the overturning of this rule. That's getting complicated. Basically, the Justice Department entirely, they were already anticipating, they had told the judge as much, to my understanding from the reporting, saying that if you do overturn or disallow this rule, saying it does not meet federal law, that we are going to appeal. And so it hasn't been put into place immediately, but I would expect that within short order, probably before those 14 days, it could be on a path to the Supreme Court. I will say that. And John Browsden calling some similarities between the current and the previous policy, saying it was a Trump immigration position too. Too bad this court screwed it up. I mean, again, there are certain similarities that are worth pointing out, though a very different standpoint, I would have to say, in the way this is coming. And at the very least, the CBP One app and the focus on that and the applications that way. It was mentioned during the Trump administration, but I don't think any serious implementation of such. I mean, the Remain in Mexico policy, again, migrant protection protocols, MPP, so-called Remain in Mexico policy, if you want to go through the technicalities of it, was a application at the bridge, kind of, though, where there were many documented incidents, particularly in our area, of people from the south side of the border approaching the bridge being told there was no processing capacity. And I think the lines at best, to my recollection, for much of the reporting I saw on that, was impromptu or kind of like back of the napkin kind of thing. So call it a better formulation if you do want, but I would agree with you on a certain amount of similarities. So that's going to probably have a lot of focus on here, and there's a lot of reporting on this. Of course, El Paso Matters has their previous reporting on the implementation of that rule, at least when it was being put forth as of back in February. They do have it linked within that article as well, and definitely other things. So, of course, statewide and nationally, including from the Texas Tribune and other national reporting outlets, citing specifically, again, U.S. Judge John S. Tigar, Tigar. I might be pronouncing that too close to Winnie the Pooh type of things, but saying that, again, that whole system does not follow federal law. So we'll see how that one continues to progress, even if there have been other interesting rules or possible changes, including, as the Texas Tribune notes, and we've gotten some releases that we've read previously on this. Their article titled out today, "On the Texas-Mexico Border, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service gives an owl protected status and seeks to declare 2 mussel species endangered," which could have, implications for some of those border policies, particularly since water flow is one of the explicitly labeled issues within the preservation and or protection of these species. Given the fact that has been part of some of the federal filings on this, I would not be too surprised about that having further impact. But a couple other things going on directly in the borderland besides just affecting it here. Again, a lot of personal and professional, or I guess legal, perils that have come in recent days as very much being exhibited, involving nighttime hiking in the Franklin Mountains. But tell you what, let's go ahead and take that break right now and get into that, as we're already a little bit overdue. So we also got an interview today related to those direct issues as well. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Whole lot more conversation about the things, again, going on and affecting us here in the borderland, as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. So until that next break, stay tuned. More Talk El Paso right now on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
El Paso freeways are crash-free right now. Nothing but delays, including heavy congestion on the 110 southbound near Alameda. Slow traffic on the I-10 westbound, Mesa on and off, slowing up to Vinton with 5-minute delays. And westbound on Trans Mountain at the I-10 eastbound, that interchange ramp again is closed due to road construction today. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If summer is heating up your hiring needs, then you need Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Sponsor your first job and get hiring today by visiting Indeed.com/credit.
Hey, El Paso and surrounding areas. This is Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Thank you for making us #1 in new car sales again. We make buying a new or certified pre-owned vehicle fast, fun, and easy.
Our goal this month is to break our all-time sales record, so Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat will do whatever it takes to make a deal. Get 10% off MSRP on 2023 Ram 1500 Lone Star trucks, $4,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Gladiator trucks, and super low 1.9% APR for 72 months. $2,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Wrangler, plus 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, $3,500 off MSRP and 2.9% for 72 months. Worry about your trade or credit? Don't sweat it. Our aggressive lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect, or if you owe more than the trade is worth. Get huge savings and more for your trade during the Make This a Summer Sales event at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount for CTNL. 1.9% APR is $14.71 and 2.9% is $15.15 per thousand finance. On select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
In this week's Marketers Report, Chris Brandt, Chief Marketing Officer at Chipotle Mexican Grill, weighs in on the power of audio.
We've used audio to reinforce what we're showing on TV, what we're showing in other digital channels. When your priority is driving reach, boy, everybody seems to listen to the radio.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to the audiences, conversations, trusted influencers, insights, and data you need to grow. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
With an open channel,
I guess just try to keep channels open.
we welcome open-minded individuals
I try to keep an open mind to all issues.
with open arms
I think we need to always have our eyes open.
for open conversation. And when you open the iHeartRadio app, you open a whole new world wherever you are.
What should America do about immigration crisis?
I guess open the borders, but at the same time, check everyone that's coming in.
Open the gates.
A free download in the App Store or at ktsmradio.com.
For over a decade, SimpliSafe has revolutionized home security, and our latest advancement is here, 24/7 LiveGuard protection, only from SimpliSafe. Now, monitoring agents can see and speak to intruders through our new indoor camera to help stop crime in real time and for fast police response. Get 20% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplisafe.com/radio. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Getting a news feed on your phone while driving
Makes driving more difficult.
This is dangerous.
Getting a news feed without a computer or mobile device?
It would be impossible.
Unless, of course, you get your live news feeds at the top and bottom of the hour.
It's easy.
Traffic and weather all day.
It's as simple as that.
Trending stories tend to change.
Every minute of every day.
Twice an hour, we'll feed your curiosity.
Stay informed.
Shouldn't we listen?
They're hungry.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Text and whatever. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
KTSM AM El Paso is News Radio 690, an iHeart radio station. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of different conversations going on and debates about legal definitions, among other things, but also those dropping the like and reacts that we appreciate, including Jim McRavey, RJ Promotes, Robbie Flores, Matt Olson, Ida Beza Gardner, and Monica Cervantes. Do appreciate that as we continue to have the conversation about the things that affect us here in the borderland, and of course also just talk about them, have the ability to do so, because damn it, I think we deserve it, and no one else is going to have that conversation like we are here. So as we see the repercussions, I'm sure this will develop over the next couple of, probably before the next couple of weeks, but the further response, the next steps, the appeals, I'm 100% sure there's going to be an appeal in that situation, but a little bit closer to home, as much as the effects are definitely seen from a lot of this here. A couple of stories from our news partners at KFOX 14 that as of this afternoon, police have identified a hiker who died after falling in the Franklin Mountains, being found happening late last night and then being found early this morning near the 1,000 Steps Trail, which isn't exactly easy hiking. I mean, it's not exactly like a flat level path that you might find in some of the state parks in our area, and definitely a lot more when you're talking about at night, with the search beginning around 10 p.m. or at the very least that, again, the person identified now being a 61-year-old Kevin Klein, resident of Iowa, and his body was found as of this morning. Apparently, at around 10 p.m. was the time that he was up there and was then called out for a rescue after contact was lost with him. So let's just say that most hiking tips, as much as, again, thoughts and prayers certainly go to his friends, loved ones, and family, but got to say that for everyone else involved in this, or not even involved in this, but do hiking at all, during the day is definitely the way to go about this. And there are also other repercussions that come from, including, okay, so I've mentioned previously, we read some of the release from the El Paso Chamber about vandalism and information being sought about it on the Franklin Mountains, on the Star of the Mountain, and of course out today, as some have already been talking about. El Paso police arrest 8 accused of trespassing on the Star on the Mountain, and 7 being noted as Fort Bliss residents, with the ages ranging from 18 to 37. A lot of 18, 19, 20, 18, 18, and then a 35 and a 37 year old also included in this. And they're, they got the mugshots over with our news partners at KFOX 14. And that's a trespassing thing, and they're all have a bond of either like $300 to, well, there's a $100 bond there as well, but up to $1,000 as part of it, because it is noted that it is absolutely private property and not a public park. It's not even like established trails leading to that. Well, that's something that we actually got into, and I was able to have a conversation with the El Paso Chamber, current stewards and caretakers of the Star on the Mountain, about, well, the serious nature of both this kind of activity, as well as, again, the vandalism that they do have on camera. So there being more of a presence and more focus on this. This is not something that's potentially going to end, as is noted by our news partners at KFOX 14, that the El Paso Police Department was keeping an eye on the 1600 block of Scenic Drive at Murchison Roger Park because of previous vandalism incidents, and information still being sought on that specifically. So was able to talk with them about those implications and some of the questions that y'all had about future things coming up potentially for the Star on the Mountain, including some of the purposes behind it, again, those future plans. So here is that interview. Enjoy. Joining me now, we have Claudio Rosales, manager of the Star on the Mountain for the El Paso Chamber. Thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you on, as there has been a number of unfortunate circumstances we've been talking about in and around the community lately, particularly involving, well, what are iconic landmarks in their own right and vandalism happening to them here. So this has been something that in its own right has unfortunately been going on, but some specific updates that you all have of the current situation involving, well, potential prosecution of individuals taking some certain definitely unauthorized action on the, again, Star on the Mountain, right?
That's correct. We are working with El Paso Police to identify the individuals that caused the vandalism in this last incident.
So it's an interesting note that has been as a part of the release that you all have on this, specifically that there is video footage of the suspects, which is expected to be released via Crime Stoppers to the public, right?
That is correct.
So when it comes to that, I think that there's this misconception, a couple of misconceptions, to be honest with you. One about the nature and the upkeep of the Star on the Mountain, that it's just kind of hanging out up there and that there's nothing like going on with it or being maintained or monitored with it, which obviously it doesn't bear out in reality, or that it's also, again, very specifically being monitored. The fact that there is that video surveillance and things like that are two very important things. And also the fact that it's on private property, among other things.
Correct. So the Star is on private property, and it is being monitored through El Paso Police. We do have cameras up there, and we are adding additional security measures to make sure that we capture any movement or any kind of vandalism when anyone decides to go up there. Even though it's illegal, it's private property, and it is no trespassing.
Yeah, and so that's a couple of things. And the idea that a lack of accountability, I think, is also a misconception about that, which is simply not the case. And also, again, the purpose of doing it here, there's been some conversation going on both on our airwaves and in kind of just in general recently, based on this and some other circumstances going on around town, of kind of the purpose of it. Some have brought up, the historical origins of the Star on the Mountain and the purpose it serves to this day. So when it comes to you all and the current managers and maintainers of the Star on the Mountain, as the purpose behind it, what was the way that you all describe that, or kind of keep in mind?
The Star on the Franklin Mountain is here as a symbol of El Paso. It's the very first time that it shined was back in 1940, and it's something that has been a tradition that we've had here for the community. The Star is a symbol of home. When you're driving down or coming in from out of town, or whether you're flying in, and you see that Star, it reminds El Pasoans that you're home. It represents the community. And that's something that we need to keep in mind and make sure that everyone is enjoying. Yes, it's beautiful to have it there, but we also need to respect it due to the fact that it is on private property. It is very dangerous when you go up there, and it is no trespassing in that area.
Yeah, it's not exactly, I mean, I don't think anyone would be reasonably expected to confuse it for a public park or anything like that. I mean, it's pretty rugged terrain up there on the side of the mountain.
That's correct. It is. There are no trails, unfortunately. The trails that have been created are due to individuals that have gone up there without authorization, and it shouldn't be happening due to the fact that you do have loose gravel. It is not a safe area to be climbing up, especially at night, because there is nothing there to prevent you from falling and injuring yourself.
So when it comes to doing the maintenance and upkeep of this, I mean, something that the El Paso Chamber is, again, in the current concept and the current implementation of the Star on the Mountain in charge of here. I mean, besides, of course, being the symbol, like you talked about there, what do y'all find is the importance to the community, and particularly the way that, there are certain awards that are also geared around the Star, right?
Yes. So the Star on the Mountain is something that the community, and not only the community, but people from all over reach out to us for lighting of the star. And the reason that they do this is either in memory of a loved one, for celebrations, for anniversaries, anything really that they want to show or share with their loved ones. And that's something that we want to continue, and we want to be able to provide to the community of El Paso.
There have been a couple of circumstances in recent years, of course, including, as we do have upcoming, the August 3rd commemorations. There have been certain things that the Star has done or has had that you'll have had the Star do previously, and including also certain different types of lighting for different recognition of individuals, whether it be the medical community or first responders. What does it take to actually end up doing that in terms of the implementation and making that work to still be displayed on the Star on the Mountain?
You're correct on that. A lot of organizations will light up the Star for a month in recognition of whether it's the DEA, the firefighters, police, even UTEP has done it. We've had it for the Alzheimer's Association. There's different organizations that do that. And when you're doing this, it is very time consuming. It's something that takes some time due to the fact that all lines need to be brought down, switched out, and then reinstalled. So it's something that is not done very often due to the timing of it and the expense, but it is something that the community does to show appreciation to those organizations and those different causes.
One question that has come up kind of outside of the current circumstance, is there any potential for future upgrades, even in the plans to maybe switch it out for, LEDs, of which something it could be changing the lighting without having to completely revamp it?
Yeah, so there's different projects that are being worked on currently. The biggest one right now is to make sure that we have it in a safe zone where it's not accessible to the public. That is our primary goal right now. But we are looking at a new system to have easier access to be able to change it and make the Star look even better than what it does now.
Yeah, fair enough here. So again, the main circumstance, and if you're just joining us again, guest right now is Claudio Rosales, manager of the Star on the Mountain with the El Paso Chamber. And again, very important details that come about with this current circumstance. So expecting that those responsible for the current bit of vandalism that has happened will be held responsible. What do you want just the public community and, everyone listening in general to know about, the importance of this, the reason you keep it up, and really if anyone's thinking about anything similar, let's just put it that way, what they should really know about how y'all are dealing with this going forward?
The Star is something that the city of El Paso, the El Paso Chamber and El Paso Police do take very serious, and we want everyone to be able to enjoy the Star. It is here for the community. It is here to resemble El Paso and what we stand for. And we ask that you please respect the Star. Do not go up there. It is a no trespassing zone. It is on private property. It's beautiful to look at, but look at it from afar. That is the biggest thing that we're asking. And if anyone has information on the suspects that did this vandalism, please reach out to El Paso Police. And let's just make sure that it's something that we value and we cherish and we continue to enjoy in the city.
And again, guest right now, Claudio Rosales, manager of the Star on the Mountain for the El Paso Chamber. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us about this, the current situation, and some of the plans and other things going on with it going forward here today.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you having us on here. And if there's anything that you need, please let us know.
I just want to point out, particularly for those, of course, over on our social media, that the backdrop that we use on this program, this is a picture I took, probably about 5 years ago, give or take, of just at about twilight as the star was lit up, and, of course, a radio tower. That's the backdrop that we use. It's just part of our show branding for those that aren't able to see it online for how we demonstrate that. I mean, it's just one of those backdrops we use that we put the pictures over or the graphics, those kind of things. That is undeniably and unmistakably El Paso. I've never had anyone ask, where's that picture from? Because it's pretty obvious, and there's a reason we use it, and I took it as such and use it as that way. So I'll certainly agree that it's one of the iconic parts of El Paso, even if some people have some questions about how it's maintained, it's how it's used. Again, it's done by partially donations by those that want to light it up for certain instances. It's pretty much a civic project at this point. So I do think that there are some public funding that goes with it, but I think it's primarily done by donation as well, or the ones wanting to light it up for certain instances. And it's also given out as awards, as a starlight or whatever that specific award is named, among other things. So just knowing that it is monitored is I think is an important one to put out there. And so, of course, that's one of the important things. And again, vandalism or beyond going on and issues with that in our community recently certainly cannot be allowed to just slide or be like, yeah, it just happens. And certainly hope that that is dealt with. And it's made it very clear that no, it's not something to just traipse through. Again, hiking on the mountain at dark is a bad idea, regardless of the reason, even if you're, as I think John Browson put a little bit earlier, trying to beat the heat is, anyone who hikes in this heat, so that's not a good way to do it. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, taking that next break right now. Coming out of this break, going to be talking a whole lot more about more things going on and potentially affecting us here in the borderland. We got that next Texas legislative session coming up. And we're going to get ready to do it all through the time warp again, among other things. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break. Phone lines here in just a little bit. But in any case, stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin. The Capitol murder trial is underway for the man accused of shooting and killing an El Paso County sheriff's deputy. A jury was set to hear the murder case against Facundo Chavez today. He's the man that investigators say is responsible for killing Deputy Peter Herrera in March of 2019. Police say that Deputy Herrera was killed while conducting a traffic stop on March 22nd, 2019 in San Elizario. El Paso police have identified the man who died after falling while hiking in the Franklin Mountains. The man was identified as 61-year-old Kevin Klein, a resident of Iowa. His body was found this morning near the Thousand Steps Trail. Klein was hiking on Tuesday at about 10 p.m. Rescue crews were searching for him Tuesday night, and he had not been found for several hours, but his body was found this morning. It appears, investigators say, that he tumbled down a rocky part of the trail. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Delays in the Upper Valley on the I-10 eastbound from Vinton to Trans Mountain, 5-minute delays. Also, westbound Trans Mountain ramp to the I-10 eastbound is closed again today for road work. On the 110 southbound at Alameda, heavy congestion is causing a backup back to the I-10 interchange with 12-minute delays down to Paisano Drive. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is forecaster Nasai Mancini. Well, folks, 41 consecutive days in a row that we've been in those triple-digit temperatures here in the borderland. But don't worry, some relief it's in sight as we head on into the weekend. We'll see a little bit of those cooler temperatures and some chances for some rain and thunderstorm showers as well. As we make our way to next week, even cooler temperatures looking like they're going to be in those high 90s. Head on over to kfoxtv.com for the latest forecast.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If your business is feeling a summer hiring wave, then you need Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
No, not now.
That sounds like it's gonna cost you.
I know what to do. I'm going to cashnetusa.com. I can apply in minutes, get an instant decision, and if approved, I could have the money in my account as soon as the same business day.
When you need money fast, be the hero. Go to cashnetusa.com to apply for the money you need now. The exact timing as to when your loan funds will be available will be determined by your banking institution.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
Protection for all, peace of mind for you. For over 40 years, Mazer Security Alarms has proudly served El Paso with superior service and superior protection. You can afford the best. For your free quote or to upgrade your existing system, call Mazer Security Alarms at 915-590-0033.
If summer is heating up your hiring needs, then you need Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Sponsor your first job and get hiring today by visiting Indeed.com/credit. This report is sponsored by Indeed.com.
The most current and comprehensive. Just minutes away at the top and bottom of the hour, and always online at KTSMradio.com. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Mazer Security Alarms doing those security upgrades around our office and already adding some new technology that I'm very excited to be able to see the effectiveness of, particularly after replacing some of our older systems around here. So if you're looking to protect what is important to you, either in your personal, professional, business, or home, they have solutions for you. No job is too big or too small. So if you want to give them a call and find out what they can offer you and their price points, 915-590-0033. That's 915-590-0033.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments come in. Facebook is the primary one. It's the one we've had up the longest, and most people end up tuning in, chiming in, and creating the Thunderdome comments more or less every day. We'll say that particularly after, what we were talking right at the start of the show about the asylum claims and things like that. There may be a little bit of conflation about amnesty and asylum going on in the comments here. Amnesty is a separate thing, but asylum is that process the international standards do apply to, that the Biden administration is facing a potential removal of the policies they have put into place. Again, the article title from El Paso Matters I was referring to earlier with some of their quotations from local organizations. Immigration policy would further, it's the previous one rather, the most recent one, article title of that one being Federal Courts ruling on Biden's, quote, asylum ban, end quote, could have major impacts in El Paso. So check them out on their front page as of more or less this moment, I do believe. Yep. Up there right now to see that. But asylum is the international process that the United States has signed on to allow for people for various reasons, including, political persecution or other things like that, to be able to claim essentially rights and protection in the country they are in at that time. Amnesty is a separate thing that is often solely U.S. based and solely within U.S. boundaries of effectively, immigration reform. It's been talked about that way. And so some different things, different policies and different implications come from either. So just some of that conversation going on that way. But switching over to the state of Texas here for at least just a bit, that there is the expectation of another special session coming. Yeah, once you start numbering them, you don't say one and done, because we had number one, which didn't really result in much. We had number two, the one that most recently wrapped up after finally getting through. And I know there had been a question about when actually that bill was signed, the one that came out of this most recent special session when it comes to that about $18 billion tax cut package. In case it was at all unclear, was actually signed, I do believe, this past Saturday. So just in case I had maybe misquoted that previously. So it took a minute, but finally signing that after it was passed in the weeks prior by the finally getting together House and Senate in the Texas legislature. So the expectations are that this next one is going to be primarily focused on one of those other, huge priorities that the governor put forth in both his campaigns and in the emergency items he mentioned, both in the State of the State speech, which we, of course, brought you here, right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, and then he has focused on ever since, and then announced those as the ones to focus on for the start of the regular legislative session, which came and went without a deal being struck. And given the whole kerfuffle going on between the houses of the legislature as it is, I'm not going to call this one smooth sailing until proven otherwise, but noting specifically from the Texas Tribune here, Texas education leaders brace for imminent special session on teacher pay and school vouchers, noting that, it's probably going to be one of those. There's been, of course, a touch on this. School funding is basically the mechanism that was the focus of the property tax reform done by the state of Texas, but this was not a change so much to the actual funding levels, of course, for public education here in Texas. It was a more or less one-to-one replacement, if not exactly, in that instead of coming out of property taxes, it was going to come out of state coffers. Through that, again, estimates have varied, but noted by the Texas Tribune here, the $32.7 billion surplus that existed in Texas at the start of this legislative session, which is not all of that was touchable actually by the actual legislature. There are certain rules that prevent them from, I guess, at least in these circumstances, spending all of those dimes, but putting it forth towards things like this. Now, with that $18 billion, okay, it's an $18 billion package. Not all of that comes from immediate funds. I think closer to that would be about $12 billion, leaving a lot of gas in the tank for this. But one of the major ones that, again, the Texas Tribune notes here was SB 9 would have had a one-time bonus of $2,000 to $6,000 for teachers, but that one didn't end up going through. Some other ones, including the incorporations into omnibus bills like House Bill 100, also didn't end up working out, but that's only part of it. The real, I would say, kerfuffle has been over, because I don't think that teachers' salary increases have, okay, I know there's some out there that have varying thoughts on it, but the idea, particularly since it has been a focus on in the state of Texas, one of the task forces that the governor put forth was about teacher retention, getting more in, and pay changes. We've seen, of course, as our signal straddles the border between Texas and New Mexico, we've seen some differences and different approaches across the state lines there as well, including the changes of the formulas for some of the basic funding there. Not trying to delve into the New Mexico program, but it definitely has been a different approach and tact. In Texas, not exactly getting closer to that, not necessarily programmatic changes, but offering raises for those, again, currently in there. The real sticking point, and particularly for, frankly, rural Republican representatives in the Texas legislature, has been over, well, what has been called voucher-like programs, education savings accounts, however you end up putting it. It ends up coming down, I think, more broadly under the umbrella of school choice is what often gets referred to it about it. And some of the ways it ended up getting put forth, and the real fight in this has been in the Texas House of Representatives more than anything. And I don't really know if the sea change has happened to make this more viable there than it was before, except for continued and increasing pressure on this. We've already seen the governor, of course, over just the tax reform kerfuffle. You've got a whole bunch of kerfuffles. It feels like, if I put this in cartoon terms, a bunch of different of those, rotating dust balls with arms and legs flinging out of them as it's referencing a fight. Like a couple of these been going on all at once, and now focus on one at a time. But in order to quell some of those previous dust-ups, the governor was willing to veto 70-plus bills, so done deals that were on his desk, and he said, you know what, you either do this or I'm going to get rid of these. Your hard work going to waste. And he did it, which, I guess arguably it worked, because they did end up passing the actual, again, property tax reform. But how much more gas you got in that tank is another question to be said, because a threat is only as good as the ability to actually do it, but also to follow through with it. So if someone doesn't think you're going to do it, calling your bluff, okay, it's ineffectual that way. But also, if you can only do it once, like, if someone's threatening to blow up the earth, or unless you do what they want you to, they can only do that once. And if they follow through with it, well, at that point, it's no longer your problem, I guess, arguably. Doesn't mean I want it to happen, but just saying there's reasonable ways to go about this. And I'm not sure the governor is willing to do that again, but the extent of which he has been willing to reach in and basically say, hey, do this or else, has been pretty extensive so far. So some of the programs that have been put forth have been, at least one, about the one that specifically came out of the House when it comes to the, again, vouchers is the way that was put, would have only affected about 1% of students in Texas, primarily those with special needs or, have mitigating circumstances, as opposed to the much more, I think it's pretty fair to say, the governor's looking for a broad program that would affect the majority of students in Texas. And that is very much one of his focuses. So we'll see what comes out of this next one that could be called, I would say that it probably has to happen before the end of August. I definitely have to say that, with also the burgeoning setup for the trial in the Senate for the, again, embattled Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, of which I will note, probably last time I'll just try to mention it before delving into it, that there is at least an attempt by, I guess, attorneys for the, again, it's not really for any of the managers of it. I think it's most accurately said as for the Attorney General himself, of trying to disqualify some of the primarily Democratic lawmakers. Again, article title from the Texas Tribune end of last week, or I guess technically early this week. Paxton lawyers seek to disqualify 3 Democratic senators as impeachment jurors, as, of course, the Senate, similar to the national process, will be the ones hearing on that specifically. So, yeah, things aren't going to be calming down in Austin at any time soon, it does feel like. But let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we will go ahead and open up those phone lines as we do at this point during the show. So if you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents that way, along with the many comments that have been going through, and we'll do a better roundup of that here coming up shortly. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Still seeing slow traffic on the I-10 eastbound Vinton down to Thorne is a 5-minute delay. Heavy congestion on the 110 southbound near Alameda. That's causing a backup to the I-10 interchange and a 5-minute delay. And westbound Trans Mountain ramp to the I-10 eastbound is closed again today. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If your business is feeling a summer hiring wave, then you need Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
In this week's Marketers Report, we hear about the importance of local radio from Allison Griffin, head of marketing at State Farm.
iHeart has such a broad broadcast reach that is local, and for us to be able to touch customers with a local feel but at a national scale is so efficient and important for us.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to the audiences, trusted influencers, and data you need to grow. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Wendy's is open until midnight or later, which means all your favorite menu items are up later too. The Baconator still tastes just as juicy and bacony at night. So listen to that craving and turn in for the night at a Wendy's drive-thru. Hours may vary at participating U.S. Wendy's.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the program, particularly at this point during the show, at which we have the phone lines open, if full up at the moment, but keep that number handy, 915-544-5876-544-KTSM. And, of course, Talk El Paso, brought to you in part by Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. They have a lot of deals for you there, including you get that 10% off MSRP of the new 2023 Ram 1500 Lone Star Edition right off across I-10 from currently Sunland Park Mall. Still that way. Visited it here today, but 950 Crockett Street, Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. So we're super short timing it this segment, so we're going to get back to those phone lines here shortly. But a lot of commentary, particularly on some of the merits or issues or different perspectives on both a trespassing on the mountain, such things such as James Radcliffe saying owner needs to put up an electric fence. That's one way to go about it. I think that letting people know it's a dumb idea is another, but different approaches do vary. But also about the immigration and border security situation. And again, some of those particular issues coming from, that federal judge ruling as of today. So we'll talk a lot about that, I am sure, and a whole lot more after we take that break for the top of the hour. So stay tuned. Much more to come in the second hour of Talk El Paso, airing live here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, keep that number handy, still full up, 915-544-5876-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Still seeing slow traffic on the I-10 eastbound Vinton down to Thorne is a 5-minute delay. Heavy congestion on the 110 southbound near Alameda. That's causing a backup to the I-10 interchange and a 5-minute delay. And westbound Trans Mountain ramp to the I-10 eastbound is closed again today. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Traffic's bad enough without Mother Nature adding to your headache. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. A lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
That's just one adoption story that started at a shelter. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's
News on the hour and the half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. A judge has rejected the plea deal related to federal tax charges against Hunter Biden. The president's son pleaded not guilty after prosecutors told the judge the original deal did not provide immunity for any future charges. At a White House briefing today, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was asked several times about the case.
Hunter Biden is a private citizen, and this was a personal matter for him.
She added that the president and first lady love their son and support him as he continues to rebuild his life. The Federal Reserve is raising interest rates again this month, but the good news is a U.S. recession is no longer expected. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell commented to reporters today after announcing interest rates were being raised by 0.25 percentage point. Close to a third of the U.S. population is under a heat alert. The heat dome over the Southwest continues to bring record-breaking temperatures. Triple-digit temperatures are also expected in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic this week. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says he's fine after being escorted away from a Republican leadership news conference Wednesday. The Kentucky senator appeared to freeze after he had stopped talking during the news conference. Opponents of Texas's floating border wall fear it's having a negative effect on the environment. Lisa Taylor has more.
It's something those guarding the border deny. The Texas Department of Public Safety says the barrier is not obstructing the flow of the river. The department said it's illegal immigrants who are trashing the border area as they move through. A lawsuit filed by the Justice Department this week suggests the floating wall is a violation of the Rivers and Harbors Act, which bans barriers and obstructions. I'm Lisa Taylor.
The Suffolk County DA says he'll prosecute accused Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann. Newsday reports Ray Tierney will be presenting the case to the grand jury that indicted Heuermann. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. NYPD officers are keeping everyone away from some Manhattan streets after a crane collapsed. Natalie Migliori reports.
Several people near 41st Street and 10th Avenue woke up the same way.
We woke up to a boom. Then the PA system of the hotel sheltered us in place. And 20 minutes after, they told us to get out.
Like a message came through the speaker in the room. First, it just said that there was a fire on the crane. Another one came through saying, attention, everyone has to evacuate.
A lot going through their minds.
It was alarming. You're like looking at the sky and there's something on fire. Panic, like what's happening? Is it going to hit us?
The FDNY reported a few minor injuries, saying the crane operator managed to escape. I'm Natalie Migliori.
An outage that affected Verizon wireless customers throughout the nation has been resolved. A Verizon spokesperson said in a statement their engineers have resolved an issue that caused intermittent call failures Wednesday morning. According to data maps, the Northeast was most affected, including New York City, Boston, and Philadelphia. A Los Angeles area man is recovering from a rare triple organ transplant. Phil Hewlett has the details.
46-year-old Valence Sams has a new heart, liver, and kidney.
I'm just thankful for another day, whether it be cloudy, sunny. Every day is a good day. Every day is my birthday at this point.
Sams is happy to be alive in Baldwin Hills, where he takes daily walks to build up his strength. For the past 10 years, he'd been in failing health, and doctors told him he likely would not survive much longer. Now, after a 20-hour surgery at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, doctors say his prognosis is good.
New home sales are slowing. Government figures show sales of new single-family homes fell to an annual rate of 697,000 units in June. It's a 2.5% decline from May's revised rate of 715,000 units. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Green. That's green. Enter it now.
Get your tickets now
at AXS.com
for our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival.
T-Mobile Arena here in Las Vegas, September 22nd and 23rd.
Streaming live only on Hulu.
The iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Brought to you by T-Mobile. Experience more of the music you love with the record-setting 5G network. T-Mobile customers can unlock VIP benefits at the festival all weekend long. It's better over here. See why at T-Mobile.com/SEEWHY.
This report is sponsored by Irish Spring, the fresh scent of Irish Spring. And those sensational Irish Spring suds are just the reset you need to own the day. Irish Spring. When the spring hits you, you're ready. Pick up Irish Spring at your local retailer today.
Keep your family and livelihood safe with a stable security system from Mazer Security Alarms. Your trusted El Paso security expert since 1982. You can get the best. Systems start at under $35 per month with upfront purchase to lease options and $0 down payment packages available. Get the peace of mind you deserve with Mazer Security Alarms. For your free quote or to upgrade your existing system, call Mazer Security Alarms at 915-590-0033. Mazer Security Alarms.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia Jeffers Sadler, and I'm inviting you to join me for my brand new podcast, Kids Bible in a Year. Together we will love the Bible, seek Jesus, and live a life better than anything we can imagine. So join me and open your eyes and heart to the exciting life God has for you. Listen to Kids Bible in a Year on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcast.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. And of course, I appreciate those chiming in on those many ways, and a lot of comments coming through all there already, but also dropping those likes and reacts, among others. Jim McGravy, RJ Promotes, Robbie Flores, Matt Olson, Monica Cervantes, and Ida Beza Gardner, and a lot of different issues being discussed. I definitely call it the Thunderdome of comments at the moment, but a lot of different things being discussed, including, I want to say, mostly revolving around the issues of border security and immigration, particularly the challenge that has been levied at the federal level with the federal court decision out of California today about one of the cornerstones of the current Biden administration immigration and border security process. But interesting, different other comments also coming in on the concepts of guest visa and worker programs, things like that. Also different national points of origin and the impacts on that, which you heard a little bit earlier as well, as we do also have Sean Gardner. Good afternoon to you as well, chiming in with us there. So we'll keep that going, and a lot of interesting different situations. Well, I'm sure that'll continue on, but in the meantime, let's get back to those phone lines now. Again, open but full up at the moment, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. But for right now, we do have Ben on the east side of the line with us here right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hello, Andrew. You probably already know about this, but it escaped my readings of local news. And I just came across an article by the Center Square publication.
Okay.
The city of El Paso is under an emergency order. It said that the city of El Paso said that its resources have become overwhelmed by the influx of migrants, and it has created a public safety crisis. And El Paso has again extended an emergency order. Now, this happened on July 17th, but the article just came out just today, and authorizing the city manager to assign personnel and resources to mitigate thousands of migrants across the U.S.-Mexico border. And the emergency order was extended for the third time as the city seeks to address significant public safety and security concerns related to the wave of migration, which includes injury or death from migrants overwhelming city resources. Have you heard about that?
I mean, yeah, it has been very much in the vein of when there was the public health orders, more closer to 2020 and the pandemic. But yeah, that has been in place since, I want to say, before December of last year. I want to say like in November, December. I'm trying to look up when exactly that was put into place, but the fact that it was extended, heard about that. We hadn't talked about that as directly on the show, and I'll admit I'm not as familiar with the publication you're talking about, the Center Square, but I do see the article you're talking about there as well. So I guess I'm not surprised about that, as we do still see. I mean, even if there hasn't been the same amount of coverage or the same national coverage, certainly, about what is going on directly in our area, there's still very much the potential. And again, that's one of the reasons I end up referring to the migrant crisis dashboard, or the migrant situational awareness dashboard over at elpasotexas.gov/migrant-crisis for that purpose.
But have you heard about this on any local news or anything? I mean, not you know, I mean, they ordered it, but they didn't. Extended it on June 2023, and they said that more than 200 migrants have been released into the city in June 2023.
I mean, that
I haven't heard anything on the news saying anything about that, at least on the local news, on KFOX or CBS, or any of the local affiliations. I mean, have you actually heard about them extending this ordinance? I mean, it had to have a city council meeting, and
sure.
They have considering amount of whereas, therefore.
So, short answer, no. I haven't heard it. I'm going to pretend to know every minute of everything that has been put forth before those organizations. So I'm going to try to see if I can find it from that city council meeting itself. See if I can find the agenda and the packet from that one. But I will say, I mean, we've talked about it, that the fact that there are still releases happening in the community. I want to say I said it at least last week, if not the week before, that we're still at we're definitely significantly below the high water marks. But for the current most recent full calendar week, the 27th week of 2023, which is an unhelpful way to put it, there were approximately 2,000 releases in this community. So not quite half the amount that was in the week right before the end of Title 42, though significant below the issues we saw at the end of last year.
Okay, I just wanted to see if you had heard about this, and I looked up the city ordinance and everything, and look it up if you can. It's there, and seems like the people of El Paso, especially on our local news organizations, should be telling people that we've got problems still.
I mean, that's kind of what I've been saying, that as much as it's not been in headlines, it has, I mean, things have not ceased in any real way in this area when it comes to either the transportation from other areas of the border sector, which had pretty well previously been the way, the kind of business as usual, so to speak, in our area. It was the things happening and originating right in our sector of the border that has been the, at least previously, unusual aspect of our situation here. But by no means has there ever been a complete lack of activity in this whole sphere in our area.
Okay, I was under the false impression that everything was going along well and we didn't have any more migrants being released into our city, but I guess not. Okay, anyway, just kind of an interesting article. Look it up and look at the reauthorization thing. Stay well, stay safe. God bless, and let's go, Brandon.
Yeah, appreciate the point of the call. You have a good one there.
Thank you.
All right, I think we got time for another call here before we hit that next break. Again, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. I'm not going to pretend to immediately find this one. I'm trying to comb through some of the city council recent agendas to find that exact answer, though they can be a little bit Byzantine in time, so it might take me a break or two, if not till tomorrow. Anyway, we do have Marco in Central on the line with us here right now. Marco, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew, how's it going?
Doing right there. What's on your mind?
Well, you just make a little comment like you want to run for mayor, and all of a sudden everybody just starts pulling out the catapults and starts flinging everything at you. So I just want everybody to know out there, my favorite wrestlers are all the heels. So if you don't like me, the line starts about 20 miles down the road and it starts on the left. So have fun getting in line. But I want to address what he said, though. And I want to address it because this is the sad mentality of how people think around and it's not just in the city. It's the power structure. And so this is how they tried to detour you from running for office and doing good stuff for your city. And so yesterday, Raul literally was like, the position for the mayor sucks. I'm spit on it. It's stupid. There's no value there. And I'm like, okay, well, if there's no value there, then why mention it? And then Raul immediately gets on his knees and starts praying to every single white mayor that has ran and professes to me and to everybody, how dare you, you stupid plebe, you pro. You need $1 million to run for mayor. What the hell do you know? If you don't have $1 million, get out of there. And that to me is such an insight into people of his thinking, the left. I'm not going to say, I don't want to tribalize it. So I want to isolate it in ideology, okay? Because the people think differently than the ideologues, okay? Including myself. You know, I am a Republican, but I'm a conservative first. And I know I have to shed these things as I start to become a mayor, a leader of people. And so and for Raul and anybody else out there, Raul, you may have disagreements with me. You can call me whatever. Mental Marco, come on, Raul. De veras, qué triste que te portas así with me, your brother, bro. I am an El Pasoan like you. You can disagree with me. You can call me names. I'm gonna make it clear for everybody. My family has owned a restaurant in El Paso for 34 years. Okay, you can always go visit me. 425 South Oregon, 425 South Oregon, Valentina's Restaurant. Okay, you're more than welcome to go in there and have a conversation with me. Honestly, I love that because I'm not running for my ego. I mean, apparently because people are just going to start trashing me no matter what. And that's fine. I'm ready for it. I just want everybody to know I'm fine with that. I understand what's coming my way. But I want people to come and talk to me, especially though, Eric, you're my boss. I'm your civil servant. I'm running to serve you guys. Whether I like it or not, whether I think you're foolish or not, whether I take concern for you, Raul, even though you're missing a chromosome, all those things. I want everybody to come and find me there. And here, I'll even give you a better one. Fridays and Saturday nights, go to Game Vault, okay? 1188 Yendell. Why? I love playing Magic the Gathering. Go meet me there. Go meet me there and talk to me. Because that's the only way you're going to get to know your leaders. That's the only way you're going to, if you don't engage on that level, then, I mean, you're going to get the leadership you deserve. And I want everybody to know who I am. Marco for mayor. I'm not running, and then Eric said this way, and I want to state it in this manner. Eric, you may think that the mayor's position is weak, but that's only because you've had weak men there. And to me, the corruption that happens in this city is beyond reprehensible. You all may try to defend it because those are your friends and you're their acolytes. Okay, and that's fine. We can all be part of a team. But at one point, Eric, you have to take concern over your brothers and sisters. They're using their money to do wrong things. Doesn't matter if they broke the law or not. They broke their trust. That's even worse. I don't give a damn if you took the money and paid it back. You took the money. You only paid it back because you were caught. You have broken your trust with the people. And this is why I say it's hard. And then you make fun of the people when I say it's hard times. Raul, I've been in the city for 34 years in the restaurant. Okay, I'm 49. I'm an El Pasoan, okay? I have the privilege of time and wisdom being in one location, okay? And I've been in the barrio, okay? Anybody that knows that area where my restaurant's at, right there in front, there used to be a little tiradero, and there used to be a flea market. Millionaires were made in that flea market. So I know good times and I know bad times, Raul. And right now, these are bad times. Me as a business owner, if I have to sit there and pinch pennies because it's either buy the food for my customers, pay bills, get gas, take care of my family, take care of my mother, Raul, I suffer just like everybody else. This is why I say my campaign's by the people. And that's what I'm all about, the people. And so I take great offense when the people when they're taken advantage of, and people are just taking money that's freely not theirs. The reason that happened is because the city manager gave these people cards just so they would get the hell out of his way. That's what it seems like to me. Here, take these cards, go get the hell out of my way. Let me do my thing. Okay, here we go. And I don't mind creates bad thoughts. Remember that. That's why these cities council members are just doing wretched things because they have nothing to do. When I get in there, we're going to change that. We're going to start making them accountable, and we're going to change the way that this city manager does things. Is whenever he does a project, he's going to have to make those city councilmen vote on it. That's how it's going to start to work if I'm in there. And if it's not made that way because they resist, we'll take it as a vote to the people and force these councilmen to start doing their job. Again, my concern is El Paso. And so if you're sick and tired of people like Raul telling you, shut up, go back to your house, you're not worth it. That's what the elite did. They destroyed our city by locking us down, telling us to shut up, don't ask questions, don't just shut up, go back home. They don't give a damn about you or me. And I want to change that. And I want the vote of the people. I might not have $1 million, Eric, Raul, but I have the backing of the people. And if that's how it's going to be, then, hey, God wills it. What else can I say?
Yeah, well, fair enough in response to what has been being said yesterday. So appreciate the point in the call and you're bringing some of that. I'll tell you what, send the line from you real quick. Got a quick question for you. Able to ask that after the break here. So we got to take that next break right now. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Big delays after a potential accident I-10 eastbound at Artcraft. Only one lane is getting through. I-10 eastbound is slow from Vinton to Thor. Now it's up to a 15-minute delay. A crash involving multiple vehicles is blocking the left lane on the I-10 eastbound in the Lower Valley at the Loop. And an injury accident reported southbound Patriot at Montana. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Inflation compensation is back.
Oh, yeah.
Demand your supply of $1,000.
$1,000? Oh.
Just listen for the keywords to text in to win $1,000. Happening now.
Listen for your chance to win $1,000 every hour, 9 a.m. through 5 p.m. with the inflation compensation on News Radio 690 AM. Brought to you by Charlie Clark Nissan and Charlie Clark Infinity of El Paso. Orale!
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If summer is heating up your hiring needs, then you need Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Sponsor your first job and get hiring today by visiting Indeed.com/credit.
The podcast Outlaws, The Good Thief tells the story of the Robin Hood of Greece. Follow this fugitive's trail from Athens to mountain hideouts and discover how this bank robber who shares money with the poor has stolen the hearts of the Greek people.
They say Paleokostas has given a lot of money to poor people.
Like, he'd steal a car from a village and return it with a bag of cash on the seat.
Listen to Outlaws, The Good Thief on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
No, not now.
That sounds like it's going to cost you.
I know what to do. I'm going to cashnetusa.com. I can apply in minutes, get an instant decision, and if approved, I could have the money in my account as soon as the same business day.
When you need money fast, be the hero. Go to cashnetusa.com to apply for the money you need now. The exact timing as to when your loan funds will be available will be determined by your banking institution.
Your home is the place where you know your loved ones are secure, but the things that keep your home protected can't keep pests at bay. That's where RAID comes in. For 60 years, RAID scientists have worked to protect people around the world with trusted research, ingredients, testing standards, and product efficacy. RAID seeks to create a better future for all, especially the ones you love most. RAID, protection for all.
School on! Save on!
Back to school is on, and Staples has great prices on everything you need for your best year yet. Save on notebooks. Save on headphones and laptops. Save on pens, markers, and all the essentials. And right now at Staples, save up to 60% on select notebooks, markers, and more. School on, save on at Staples, where school savings are always in session. N729. Prices may vary in-store and online.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. And, of course, those phone lines open and available right now, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Just one little quick update I do want to give here that the latest from our news partners at KFOX 14, the Las Cruces landfill fire continues to burn and is not looking like it's going to be done here very quickly, as it was sparked by lightning over the weekend, and they have done some mitigation efforts spreading out the burning material and dousing it with water, but it's a whole bunch of like yard waste, compost, and other things. So, particularly for people in the area, be very careful because, we may not be having the whole Canadian wildfire impact on it, but yeah, we got our own little homegrown version, I do suppose. Anyway, again, a lot of conversation, including on odds of getting elected and things like that, such as Buddy Vaya saying Marco just lost the election by saying he's Republican. And others responding back to that, like Fred Marcus saying, I'm voting for Marco for mayor. And the question I had for him is one that did come up about, is there an election website or anything like that? Short answer, no, but stay tuned is what Marco did have to say. But Buddy Vaya is saying that Republicans don't win in El Paso. Okay, I'll say that on the general ballot, I think there's one current partisan position in El Paso County. I believe it's the Justice of the Peace. I'll have to double check on that here in a minute. Now that I think about it, that is a Republican elected official. But when it comes to the nonpartisan elections, I know it's not usually a thing in El Paso, and a lot of people think of it as essentially cheating to declare any kind of partisan allegiance for a position that is nonpartisan. What that means, strictly speaking, is that you cannot put there is no letter by your name that appears on the ballot. But the way it works most other places outside of El Paso, anyway, a lot of places I've lived or worked or had colleagues that were able to comment on such, is that the same kind of like funding and background networks will still work on behalf of candidates, even though it's been considered, like unfair or, shirking the rules here locally. So I will say that there have been people who have previously run and been elected as Republicans in El Paso and for El Paso that have also then run and won nonpartisan spots. I think the biggest example I can think of off the top of my head would be former Mayor DeMargo, who ran previously as now I'm forgetting, was it a state senator or a state representative? I'm pretty sure it was a state senator, but let me double check that one before I commit to that entirely. Yes, I do believe a Republican previously. Yeah, DeMargo. So it has happened. I'm not calling it at all common, but also, I think that the biggest thing for any elected official thinking about, particularly like maybe even challenging that status quo if they were so inclined, would be just getting out the vote. Because if you're not doing that, we still have those voter problems. I know I've been on that soapbox here in a minute since we've been between elections, but we have dismal voter turnouts. So if you are wanting to get anyone elected, that one line from what was it, Charlie Wilson's War, about taking truckloads of people to the polls that otherwise just wouldn't have gone. Makes a lot of sense here. It's saying that might be viable in our local area. Anyway, let's go to those phone lines now. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Eric on the east side here with us right now. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Hello there. Yeah, I was hoping you were privately apologizing to Marco for encouraging his delusions and extremist nonsense. When his right-wing information sources have coddled him his entire life and have unfortunately led him to this point. People never told him he was wrong, just what he wanted to hear. And I've never commented about the power of the mayor. And Raul correctly pointed out the other day that your first move as mayor, Marco, should be to pressure Trump to pay back the $600,000 he still owes the city. Like, will you fight for taxpayers and demand that your god Trump pay that money back, or give him a pass like every other traitorous Republican who still defends him? I'll bet money that you'll give him a pass. Raul's point was that these are crocodile tears from you, fake concern about the well-being of taxpayers, because you're not willing to call out Trump for the $600,000 he owes the city. And, one of your callers yesterday grossly misrepresented my views because he couldn't address a single substantive thing I had said. Conservatives always do this when they can't address the logical arguments or evidence that logically argues how they're wrong, so they just lie. Like, I've never spoken poorly of minimum wage workers in my life. I made you aware of this, in the comments as this guy was promoting this nonsense, and you didn't correct him because you need your listeners misinformed and the wells of those who promote facts poisoned. I support increasing minimum wage, workers' rights, and forcing businesses to treat their employees like human beings, like with dignity. And I always have, like, I'm a humanist. Conservatives believe humans exist to be wage slaves for the rich till they die. They believe if Americans aren't paid living wage, they and their kids deserve to suffer in poverty. I've never said minimum wage workers made poor life choices to justify their poor treatment by employers. That is what conservatives like Stephen and those who mistake those on this station as credible sources callously believe and promote. And, he also, made this absurd point that I was mansplaining. Like, that's absurd. Like, firstly, mansplaining is something society's conditioned most men to naturally do to women. It is when, like, men belittle, demean, and speak down to women by assuming they don't know something, usually something basic or something common knowledge. This is more commonly exhibited in conservative men because their information sources, like those on the station, and their conservative upbringing tell them to embrace misogyny, that women are naturally inferior, and that women are naturally less capable. This is part of the traditionalism promoted and embraced by everyday conservatives. Like, this is why movies like Barbie are genuinely important and have tremendous cultural significance of value. And, like, this is why feminism is necessary to combat this degrading and oppressive treatment conservative traditionalism seeks to maintain. Like, if you go into right-wing echo chambers, you'll see of conservatives, you'll always see them deny mansplaining as a thing, and that feminism is all bad. It's part of this cultural Marxist plot to destroy traditional living in Western society. It's important to acknowledge that conservatives, when they speak out against wokeness, they're advocating for misogyny, toxic masculinity, and a backwards worldview that holds back women and other oppressed groups.
Okay, I mean, don't get me wrong. The mansplaining is not something that I'm particularly in favor of. But did you really just then go through, say, you're not a mansplainer, and then explain mansplaining? I just need to make sure that actually happened, and I didn't imagine that happening right now.
Logically arguing the facts and the existence of something to both men and women who listen to your show is not women'splaining. Women'splaining is when you're speaking down to women about a basic thing that's common knowledge. See, your conservative information sources have misled you on what women's mansplaining is.
You can't even get the phrase right, my dude. I can't keep a straight face on this one anymore. Like, I don't doubt that you have a lot of passion for these things, and then it makes it real easy for you to throw out the straw man of, oh, you're bad information sources, when I cite my sources, my dude, and on the actual things we're talking about, you never really have a thing to say about that. So this is this is why I call you a troll, among other things. Like, you cannot possibly be serious about saying that mansplaining. I am not a mansplainer, and now let me explain what mansplaining is. Like, are you serious? I need you to have an ounce of self-reflection on this to know that is what is going on. Like, if you want to talk about here's why it's bad, here's why I disagree with it, here's why it's not a good thing, but just really going to say I'm this is why, as much as I think you have a lot of passion for certain things, I just cannot take you seriously sometimes, my dude. Anything. Anyway, we got to take that next break right now. I appreciate the point in the call for what it's worth. And if I'm able to regain my composure by this next segment, so much the better. If you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents. That number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso, your News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin. The Capitol murder trial is underway for the man accused of shooting and killing an El Paso County sheriff's deputy. A jury was set to hear the murder case against Facundo Chavez today. He's the man that investigators say is responsible for killing Deputy Peter Herrera in March of 2019. Police say that Deputy Herrera was killed while conducting a traffic stop on March 22nd, 2019 in San Elizario. El Paso police have identified the man who died after falling while hiking in the Franklin Mountains. The man was identified as 61-year-old Kevin Klein, a resident of Iowa. His body was found this morning near the Thousand Steps Trail. Klein was hiking on Tuesday at about 10 p.m. Rescue crews were searching for him Tuesday night, and he had not been found for several hours, but his body was found this morning. It appears, investigators say, that he tumbled down a rocky part of the trail. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Seen a lot of slowing on the I-10 eastbound this afternoon from Vinton down to Thorne. It's a 25-minute delay. That's because of a wide load that's stalled, blocking all lanes on I-10 eastbound at Artcraft. Expect delays. Road debris is blocking 2 left lanes on the I-10 westbound at Piedras. Police and medical responding to a crash East Paisano Drive northbound south of Gateway at Rosa Avenue. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is forecaster Nasai Mancini. Well, folks, 41 consecutive days in a row that we've been in those triple-digit temperatures here in the borderland. But don't worry, some relief, it's in sight as we head on into the weekend. We'll see a little bit of those cooler temperatures and some chances for some rain and thunderstorm showers as well. As we make our way to next week, even cooler temperatures looking like they're going to be in those high 90s. Head on over to kfoxtv.com for the latest forecast.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
MVP's bonus days are back at Lowe's. Right now, save $60 when you buy a DeWalt Impact Driver or drill for just $99 each. Lowe's knows pros. Valid through 8/2.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org. Protection for all, peace of mind for you. For over 40 years, Mazer Security Alarms has proudly served El Paso with superior service and superior protection. You can afford the best. For your free quote or to upgrade your existing system, call Mazer Security Alarms at 915-590-0033.
Recently, we hit the streets and found out how informed people really are.
Yes, I'm on top of events.
Most news, yes. Except for these two.
I am not on top of events.
I'm not on top of my events, no.
They were clueless that every morning they can plug into the world with the news, weather, and traffic info that'll make their lives so much easier and more informed. Just like you and I do. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina serves the old Griggs Mexican food recipes in a new location at 6761 Doniphan Drive. Enjoy great New Mexican food with cold beer and the Juan and only margarita from the Cantina. The managers and cooks from the original Griggs restaurant serve tacos, combination plates, and sopapillas. Get the best Mexican food in the valley at Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Doniphan, near Loop 375. Call 877-2152.
Most of the time, traffic is pretty good. But there are times when traffic can be pretty bad. No, I mean like really bad. Almost but more like an asteroid's gonna hit the city and everyone's trying to get out of town at once and nobody's car is moving and people are running down the highway clutching their kids and whatever belongings they can grab. Yep, now you got it. It's times like these you need your severe traffic station. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Staples has great prices on everything you need for back to school. Now save up to 60% on select notebooks, markers, and more. At Staples, school savings are always in session. Offer ends July 29th. Prices may vary in store and online. School on, save on at Staples. This report is sponsored by Staples Stores.
There are things that go together that make mornings better. Coffee and cream, bacon and eggs, pancakes and syrup.
Let's take a look at traffic and weather together.
Traffic and weather, yeah. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio. Updates all day long.
General things like that help me get through my day.
Before you head out, get together with our traffic and weather. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM. Stay tuned and stay informed with News Radio 690 KTSM. An iHeart radio station, El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media page. They're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Okay, it's technically X now. I'm still not getting over that. Maybe I'm focusing on it too much, but we'll see how that continues to maybe implode. Anyway, a lot of other conversations going on there, including, mentioning of Sinead O'Connor passing away. I mean, as much as I am not happy about any human being dying, not going to say that one particularly affected me personally, but if it did you, my condolences. Also, just going to say in other ways, be careful of what you wish for, but other types of conversation going on, and let's just say that anyone saying that anyone is better or worse than anyone else based on any of their immutable characteristics is just out there. Like they don't have a lot of basis in reality in my mind, because that's the thing that it takes to devalue people, is to say, well, because of X input, X part of your life that you don't have any control over, therefore you are worse than anyone else. So, and that also does tend to include the unimmutable characteristics, such as, well, because you believe X or you are a part of X group, you are inherently bad. Like, come on. Anyway, other conversations going on. Had people come on the line but drop off there, so lines are available right now, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. And some of the other comments coming in, including about other issues that have been going on but I guess I've lost track of some of these things, because that was definitely a very interesting segment. I'll agree with that entirely. I did find some of the answers that were actually being asked about during a previous segment about city council action, particularly that extension of the ordinance. Found it from the what's technically the date on this one? The notice of the work session of the El Paso City Council from July 17th in Council Chambers, City Hall. So this is why I tell you that there's a variety of different meetings that happened going on during the progression of the week. This one was technically the work session, but there is a certain amount of actions as quorums are still required, among other things, to make these happen. A lot of them end up being setups for action that happens then during regular city council meetings, but this one in particular did lead to, as the Ben, I believe, was asking, about the emergency ordinance extension and about the whereas. So I did find that here. So some of the details on emergency ordinance extending emergency ordinance number 019333, authorizing the city manager to assign personnel and resources to assist in addressing the humanitarian and public safety crisis resulting from a mass migration through El Paso. I'll just, one of the first whereas, at the very least. Whereas on May 23rd, 2022, the mayor and city council of the city of El Paso, noted as the city, passed emergency ordinance number 019333, quote, authorizing the city manager to assign personnel and resources to assist in addressing the humanitarian and public safety crisis resulting from a mass migration through the city of El Paso. And some of the other ones noted here that then the policy, of course, Title 42 did end on May 11th. And, well, this is a significant whereas. Whereas on the eve of the expiration of Title 42, there were an estimated 152,000 migrants in northern Mexico, with approximately 60,000 in the state of Chihuahua and 35,000 in Ciudad Juarez, according to U.S. federal statistical records. And whereas the Southwest had 169,244 land border encounters in the month of May 2023, and going on over the various agencies involved and the encounters they had across the entire border sector and about the releases on the streets. And yeah, whereas in the month of June 2023, approximately 200 migrants had been released into the community weekly, and whereas in response to the street releases, the El Paso City City Office of Emergency Management, OEM, reallocated 29 COVID-19 operations staff to assist as migrant shelter surge staff. And on May 17th, 2022, this staff began orientation training at Casa del Refugiado, the NGO's largest hospitality site, and goes on for another few pages with the whereases. So try to see if I can post up that link on their social media pages. But goes to say, now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of El Paso that the extension was given of the emergency ordinance and shall continue for 30 days unless reenacted or until terminated by City Council, whichever is sooner. And it was adopted as an emergency measure with the unanimous vote of City Council representatives present and the consent of the mayor. So that's that bit that was being asked about there, because I mean, it has continued on. And again, that's one of the reasons I bring up that. And one of the reasons I would also say that some of that tracking is still happening by the city of El Paso. Again, it's elpasotexas.gov, meaning it's the city of El Paso, Texas website that they keep hosting up this information that I would, if anyone has questions about this, would definitely refer people towards, including the most previous week, most recent week, the 26th week of the year, which again is, I'm sure I could figure that out if I had a moment, but it's not the way I think about the year. The 26th week, there were in our community 2,118 releases, and for the most recent full week, there were 2,034. So there is still definitely impacts we are seeing about this, even if the encounters are significantly lower. The 7-day rolling average currently sits at about 718, but the in custody in the region is at about 2,395. So these impacts do absolutely keep continuing in our area. And so the reauthorization of that, I guess it is a 30-day at this point, as opposed to, I mean, if this is truly being cited from having started May of last year, we had some more substantive jumps in that authorization over the time. And particularly given that we have more evolving with this. Again, the potential for that, as we talked about right at the start of the show, that federal court ruling that puts in question one of the cornerstones of the Biden administration policy when it comes to immigration and border security in this term of office entirely. It does raise the question of what will the impacts being seen here locally, even just from some of the quotations that specifically El Paso matters, as we referenced earlier, local organizations differing on what they expect may or may not be the impacts of it here. One more quote I actually do want to pull from that actually comes down towards the bottom of that article, beyond what the local NGOs were talking about. That previous guest on the show, Mario D'Agostino, deputy city manager overseeing emergency operations, said that the ruling was, quote, not good news, but went on to say, quote, but we continue to diversify our response, end quote, adding that the city would continue to use hotels to help shelter migrants if an influx occurred, while the city would, quote, continue to identify possible locations for sheltering. Now, of course, that's noted that many of the shelters that were set up right around the end of Title 42, or the anticipated response from the end of it, were primarily now spun down, both the ones that were at the convention center and, of course, at Bassett Middle School. But there's still that agreement in place with EPISD. So there's still a lot of moving parts with this, and would encourage anyone. We'll also try to post up that link here over on our social media to that article to take a look at it for yourself. So we're going to go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll tell you what coming up for you on the show, and of course, what we got a whole lot more discussion on. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound at Aircraft, a wide load truck is blocking all lanes. Expect delays, 20-minute delays right now. I-10 eastbound from Vinton down to Thorne. That's what's doing it. North Desert Boulevard at Trans Mountain, there's a stalled vehicle in the left lane. A multi-vehicle accident, I-10 eastbound at the loop in the lower valleys, blocking the left lane. Traffic starting to slow down I-10 westbound from Lee Trevino over to the 54 Patriot. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by STEM.
If the weather calls for rain, then the rain calls for mosquitoes. Keep them away with STEM. STEM is powered by active ingredients found in plants to repel mosquitoes safely and effectively when used as directed. STEM, rooted in nature, optimized by science.
Are you a business owner, CEO, or responsible for marketing? If you are, iHeartMedia can help you reach your goals and find new customers. We reach more consumers in your target area than anyone else. And we can give you access to those potential customers more cost effectively across radio, digital, podcasting, and social. We'd love to show you how iHeartMedia can work for you. From your cell, dial pound 250 and say keyword great results. That's pound 250 and say great results.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food too.
You don't plan for a computer virus. You don't plan to lose files. You don't plan to knock your laptop off the counter. And you don't plan for your PC to crash or your screen to freeze. But Staples has a plan. A plan for unlimited virus protection. A plan for help when you need it 24/7. Staples Total Support Plans are your tech plans for the unplanned, starting as low as $199.99. And although you didn't plan for this, right now at Staples you can also get $250 off select computers. N729 in-store only. See associate for details.
There's a right way and a wrong way to fight off mosquitoes. Karate chopping the air in a public place in front of your kids and their friends, Mom, is the wrong way. Using STEM mosquito repellent is the right way. STEM effectively repels mosquitoes by harnessing active ingredients found in plants like lemongrass and peppermint, making it safe for use as directed around people and pets. STEM, rooted in nature, optimized by science, and embarrassment-free.
Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Did you know that only 2 in 10 El Paso County students graduate with a bachelor's degree? By supporting Border Youth Athletic Association's mission of educational attainment, you will create a long-lasting impact in our students' lives. Your monthly donation enables 4th through 12th grade students access to after-school programs, providing a safe and healthy environment. BYAA engages and empowers El Paso's future through mentorship and leadership development. We believe every player who gets an education wins. Do you? Go to borderyouth.org and show your support for our youth today.
iHeartRadio brings you New to View, Streaming Edition.
Looking for something to watch? Listen up. Next week on Netflix, Monday, it's season 8 of the kids' cartoon Gabby's Dollhouse. Next Tuesday, it's the Netflix original Japanese anime film The 7 Deadly Sins, Grudge of Edinburgh Part 2. Next Thursday, it's the Netflix animated family series premiere of Mech Cadets. And the new drama series Painkiller, starring Matthew Broderick, Uzo Aduba from Orange is the New Black, and Taylor Kitsch, a series about America's opioid epidemic. Next Friday on Netflix, it's the debut of the new drama film Heart of Stone, starring Gal Gadot and Jamie Dornan. Next Tuesday on Hulu, it's the 3rd season premiere of Only Murders in the Building with new cast member Paul Rudd. Next Tuesday on Paramount Plus, it's the 4th season debut of the docuseries Never Seen Again. Next Tuesday on HBO, the 18th season premiere of Hard Knocks, this year embedded with the New York Jets. Next Thursday on Paramount Plus, it's the debut of the romantic movie Love in Taipei. Next Wednesday on Apple TV Plus, it's the premiere of the adult cartoon Strange Planet, co-created by Emmy-winning Rick and Morty creator Dan Harmon. Next Friday on Amazon Prime Video, it's the debut of the romantic comedy film Red, White, and Royal Blue. And next Sunday on Showtime Anytime, the 7th and final season of Billions, starring Damian Lewis and Paul Giamatti.
And that's New to View on iHeartRadio. Happy binging.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Covered a lot of ground here today, but of course, there's always more to come, including keeping our eye on some of those developing issues, like we'll see. If I wouldn't be surprised if, maybe not exactly by tomorrow, but before the end of the week, we have more coming from parts of those situations involving, again, the legal backing of the cornerstone of the policies from the Biden administration when it comes to border security and immigration, and a lot more debate on that, I'm sure, in the comments there. And we'll, of course, keep taking the comments and calls as we do. Some other things, including, see if we can get some feedback on the fight for 17. Yeah, that's the push, or at least a bill that is filed in Congress currently. We'll see how that one works out, as well as keeping our eye on the state legislature and see if we get more response on that, particularly from some of those the educational advocates or issues with it. So there's a whole lot more to go there. And of course, some of the debates going on about the system of government. Yes, we inhabit a democratically elected representative government. Let's just put that to bed right now, because I know a lot of people say, oh no, we're a republic, not a democracy, or no, we're a democracy, not like yes, we have combined systems. We are neither a pure democracy nor a pure republic. If that's the thing that you're hanging your hat on for the argument, let's just settle that and move on. But in any case, a lot more debates, I'm sure, will be continuing on there, but we'll have to leave it there for today because we are out of time here for this program, including some of the definitions of things such as asylum, amnesty, and other things of that. Apparently, we'll keep talking about that as well. But in any case, I want to appreciate everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. If you actually want to talk about the things going on here and affecting us in the borderland, we'll keep doing that as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. So until then, until next time, I want you all to stay safe out there, look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow. Ruli's International Kitchen, just a great little gourmet dive with new features almost every day. Check the whiteboard as you walk into their location, not too far from I-10 and Executive Center, 4176 North Mesa. Find them online at rulisik.com or make your next reservation for the next everyday occasion or special events, 915-313-4806. That's 915-313-4806.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound at Aircraft, a wide load truck is blocking all lanes. Expect delays, 20-minute delays right now. I-10 eastbound from Vinton down to Thorne. That's what's doing it. North Desert Boulevard at Trans Mountain, there's a stalled vehicle in the left lane. A multi-vehicle accident, I-10 eastbound at the loop in the lower valleys, blocking the left lane. Traffic starting to slow down I-10 westbound from Lee Trevino over to the 54 Patriot. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Hey, El Paso and surrounding areas. This is Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Thank you for making us number one in new car sales again. We make buying a new or certified pre-owned vehicle fast, fun, and easy.
Our goal this month is to break our all-time sales record, so Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat will do whatever it takes to make a deal. Get 10% off MSRP on 2023 Ram 1500 Low Start trucks, $4,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Gladiator trucks, and super low 1.9% APR for 72 months. $2,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Wrangler, plus 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, $3,500 off MSRP and 2.9% for 72 months. Worry about your trade or credit? Don't sweat it. Our aggressive lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect, or if you owe more than the trade is worth. Get huge savings and more for your trade during the Make This a Summer Sales event at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, at I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount for CTNL. 1.9% APR is $14.71 and 2.9% is $15.15 per thousand finance. On select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
The most current and comprehensive. Just minutes away at the top and bottom of the hour. And always online at KTSMradio.com.
I am a veteran. I spent 2 years alone and homeless.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
My victory was finding the support to get back on my feet.
DAV helps veterans of every generation get the benefits they've earned.
I'm a veteran. When I got out, I felt like nowhere was safe.
So veterans can